Hi, everybody, and welcome. My name is Daniel Gray. I am the Trailer Park Prophet, coming at you live from beautiful downtown Crestone, Colorado, on Blog Talk Radio. This is Sunday on Monday, and if you want to call into the program, you can do so by dialing 646-716-8506. I thought we would go to the Drudge Report first, talk about stories that are trending. This is the number one story on the Drudge Report, and this is about Representative Gutierrez from Chicago. Got a story here from Breitbart, says Gutierrez on coming Obama executive amnesty, be prepared. So we're being warned about a executive amnesty way outside the confines of our Constitution and our rule of law. Let's see, what do we got here? We might even have a little bit of a video.
We're proud to help more than 1 million small business customers.
All right, let's stick with this, see if there's something good here. It just popped up. We had to listen to the Hartford commercial, so I think we have a...
Is this an end around Congress? It is, Tom, but it's one that the president has been threatening really for months. I think he
talking about amnesty,
particularly House Republicans, to try and put something on the floor, to try and put some type of broad immigration overhaul, at least start moving the process forward. We saw that fall apart last month, and the result has been that the administration has long...
Now this is Bloomberg, and this guy talking is a guy named Matt Hawthorne, and he's one of the Obama spokespeople, and talking about how the president's going to take action on immigration reform. And just think, it's not immigration reform. What we have today is a situation where our government is not enforcing the laws of our land. That's a problem we have. The immigration system isn't broken. What's broken is our southern border. All right, let's go back to this.
Been holding some type of executive action over Republicans' head on this, and they're starting to coalesce around ideas to move forward on that.
Is there any middle ground for Republicans?
Not that I see, Tom. I think the big question that I had was the undocumented migrant children issue that has really sprung up in a huge way over the last couple months, last month, I guess you could say. I was really interested to see how that would impact what the Obama administration would do in terms of how they were considering these executive actions that they're going to roll out in September. I have been very surprised. Lawmakers, aides, and advocates I've spoken to that have been dealing with the White House on this issue have said that there has not been any type of pullback on the White House's side on this. I think Republicans right now are far more likely to kind of trench themselves in and go after the president for executive overreach than they are to try and find any type of middle ground.
Well, Phil, I'm curious to know how his fellow Democrats in Congress actually feel about executive action. On the one hand,
right, I got to stop it here. Now, let's remember that the polling on whether or not they want amnesty in this country is 65% against. Our country is against what this guy, this mouthpiece for Barack Hussein Obama, are suggesting. They don't want amnesty through the Congress, and they don't want amnesty through the president. So this Matthew, he's totally misrepresenting the actual polls out there. And that's every poll I've seen is in the high 50s, low 60s against amnesty. And remember, they keep using this $5 million number, or this $5 million number for the amount of people that Barack Hussein Obama could grant amnesty. Mainly these kids that just flooded over the southern border. And remember, too, they're not even freaking kids. Only 10% of the people that have been flocking over our southern border are actually kids. I mean, the misinformation that is out there today from the lamestream media it's criminal, it's inexcusable, it's disgusting, it's very angry. And okay, let's go back to this press release, or rather this is actually a show on MSNBC. And then I think we go on to Congressman Gutierrez. He appeared recently on MSNBC's Jose Diaz Balhart. And that I want to get up to speed on what's going on with immigration, and then we'll go down and listen to the president himself speak on this issue. And, oh, here, this is a good article. Again, this article is from Breitbart, and we're listening to this guy, what's his name? Anyways, he's a spokesman for the Obama administration on immigration. He's talking about how the Obama administration is considering granting amnesty to more illegals. All right, take it away here, Mouthpiece.
May not necessarily appreciate effectively being gone around.
Adam, I think the really interesting thing, and what we're going to have to watch over the next couple of weeks as more details of these types of proposals start to come out, is the red state Democrats that are up for re-election. Look, there are policy implications here that are huge. As Tom said in the lead-in, we're talking about millions of undocumented immigrants potentially being given work permits or maybe deferred action on deportations for a 1 or 2 or 3 year period. The big issue, though, there are vulnerable Democrats running very, very tough races. The politics of this are difficult. If they find out that in Arkansas or in Alaska or in Louisiana, moving forward on this would have a major negative impact on those lawmakers, it'll be interesting to see if the administration pulls off. Immigration advocates, Adam, are saying that they aren't going to. They are set on a path, and that's not going to change. But politics, particularly in September, can change a lot of minds when you're looking to control the U.S. Senate.
So from where you sit, how sensitive is that politics to the rising count of children on our borders? Do we have a change in politics? It's 60,000 or 70,000 or the reported expected 90,000.
You know, Tom, what's been really interesting is we've seen it come from both sides. The numbers are verified. There has been a drop over the last month over month. I think we were going from about 350 per day to 150 per day in terms of the flow to the border.
Those are the ones you catch, meathead. That means there's 10 times that many.
As that drop occurs, even to your point, the projections are still out there, 70, 80, 90,000. As that drop occurs, does the urgency disappear as well? You're about to, in about 4 days, you're about to see every... All
right, this guy works for the Obama administration, and he's suggesting still, which is remarkable, that the Republicans are going to have to cave in to some kind of an amnesty deal. And that is so not the truth. If the Republicans say, look, we are not going to do any kind of amnesty, we're not going to do immigration reform, we're going to build the fence first across our southern border, people would absolutely positively love it. And if we had federally funded national elections for Congress and the U.S. Senate, it would have happened years ago. But because our campaigns are funded by special interests, we can't even do the most remedial job of a government, which is to protect the borders. I mean, we really do live in a upside-down world. We're living in what George Orwell and Ayn Rand talked about. Where good is bad, bad is good, black is white. Alright, let's see here. Oh, you know, and here we go here. Here is Gutierrez. I don't know if we actually have him on video, but we have quotes, and I want to get into this. Now, this again is Gutierrez, Congressman Gutierrez from Illinois. He's a Democrat, and he says here, and this is all about immigration, he says, the structures were not in place to help these people, he continued, so I've been going around meeting with major news organizations, newspaper editorial boards, columnists, and others here in Chicago for the last 3 weeks, telling them we have to get prepared as a city and prepare a model for the nation, because when 5 million people are allowed the opportunity to come out from under the shadows and into the light of day and get legalized, it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of capacity of our communities, but I'm really looking forward to the challenge. I mean, that, my fellow lovers of liberty, is a really a profound statement by Congressman Gutierrez. He's warning the government in Chicago that they're about ready to have 5 million people be dumped on them, and Chicago's already broke. Detroit is broke. Remember, Detroit's bankrupt and in receivership. Gutierrez, along with the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, gave Obama a wish list of executive actions and urged Obama to legalize all of the illegal immigrants that would have qualified under the Senate's amnesty bill. I mean, now our whole political process is being circumvented. The voice of the people has been muted. And it's criminal. It's evil. I'm sorry. Barack Hussein Obama and Congressman Gutierrez, they're evil. They're enemies of our republic. They're enemies of our liberty. They're enemies of rule of law. It goes on here with Gutierrez. Remember, we reported on this last week. Gutierrez, Congressman Gutierrez from Illinois, was going to meet with Barack Hussein Obama. And he says here, after meeting with Obama at the White House to urge him to be as broad and generous as possible with his executive amnesty, Gutierrez assured La Raza month that Obama assured him he would take steps to stop the deportation of our people. Now that is so racist on many levels. Our people. And you're either our people or you're not our people. And Gutierrez assured La Raza, the race, it doesn't get any more racist than that. And again, they're using race. Gutierrez is using race in order to promote progressive socialist statism. Bottom line. Okay, here's Obama. When was this? Oh, by the way, Obama is back in the country. Obama, I believe, is back at the White House. Let's see here. Let's see what Barack Hussein Obama has to say. Again, we're on Breitbart. Take it away, Mr. President. Welcome back to the Trailer Park Prophet Show.
Your phone is smart. Your kids are smart.
Sorry, Mr. President, we got to have a little advertisement for King Soopers.
Smart too, because you shop at King Soopers and you win online. Just sign up, sign on, and save more at kingsoopers.com with digital coupons for the things you buy most often. You're saving time by building shopping lists online and by refilling prescriptions in a snap. Yep, you are one smart cookie. Great food, low prices at King Soopers.
All right, Mr. President. Take it away, bro. This is from Inform.
White House officials are downplaying stories that President Obama is prepared to take executive action on immigration that would allow millions of undocumented people to stay in the United States. White House Senior Advisor Dan Pfeiffer said on ABC's This Week with George Stephanopoulos, the reports you're seeing are uninformed speculation.
You know, and I'll tell you what, here's the calculus right now. If Obama were to go ahead and give amnesty to 5 million plus illegals by executive order, the Democrats are going to pay a price for that. And the Democrats are real busy right now seeing how big that price is. And we'll know the results of their polling once we find out whether or not Obama is going to try to sneak through some more amnesty before the midterm elections. And I bet what they're telling the president, look, don't do it between now and the midterms, do it after the midterms. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Obama isn't going to grant amnesty until after the 2014 elections. And so now, you know, he can take interest of the press off of more pressing issues and talk about whether or not he's going to grant amnesty instead of allowing the president to talk about really what's really important is whether or not Iran's getting a bomb or what's going on in other hot spots in the Middle East, primarily in Iraq. Oh, by the way, this is big news too. It was leaked out of the White House today that Obama is thinking about bombing ISIS in Syria, sending our aircraft into Syria to bomb ISIS. Now that is a frightening scenario. for a lot of reasons. Because if the Syrian or Russian forces actually scramble to interdict our American jet bombers or jet fighters and take out an American plane, I mean, we have the actual situation whereby we could get drug into a war with Russia, either directly or indirectly. I mean, we're already indirectly in a proxy war with Russia. Russia's backing Syria's Assad, and we're backing, ironically, ISA, which is a profound turn of events in the Middle East. How it, and we've talked about it on the show a lot, and I know we have a lot of new listeners, but basically we backed the so-called rebels in Syria against the Assad regime that was backed by Russia, and turned out these guys are ISIS. Oh, and there's more information out there that ISIS actually was the entity that gassed civilians in Syria. Remember, we were talking about this over a year ago, that it wasn't Assad, and I go, you think about the calculus, there's no upside for Assad to be gassing his own people. None whatsoever. And we had any number of reports on the ground in Syria that were saying that, man, it's the insurgents. And now we know that, now even more definitively, that it was actually ISIS in Syria that gassed the civilians, that almost put America at war with Syria. Remember Barack Obama's line in the sand that if Syria gassed its own people, that the USA was going to have a military response? And then Barack Obama backed down and looked like a paper tiger. And now, we reported that ISIS got the chemical warfare weapons from Saddam Hussein's stockpile in Iraq. I mean, we know that now. So now it's not a stretch that they took them across the border into Syria and gassed some people. And it's not, it's not a stretch either to think that ISIS may have already gotten chemical weapons into the U.S. to use in an American city. And I got a feeling there's going to be a big attack on 9/11 of this year. And it may be a whole bunch of little ones, or maybe like one big one and a bunch of little ones, but I have a really sick feeling in my gut something's going to happen in the good old U.S. of A. If you want to call into the program, you can do so. Dial 646-716-8506. I am the Trailer Park Prophet, broadcasting live on Blog Talk Radio from beautiful, beautiful, beautiful downtown Crestone, Colorado. All right, let's move on to the show. Oh, I want to go back to Drudge. Well, maybe I'll do some of my stories here, but we'll go back to Drudge. Make sure something's not breaking. Oh my God, here is something from Alan West. And Alan West is a black conservative from Florida. He actually was a career military. He made it up to, he was an officer, I can't remember, Colonel Alan West. He ran for Congress from Florida, got elected, and then got beat. But he's conservative through and through, and he is a student of history. And I'm telling you, I would love to see Alan West be the Republican nominee in 2016 for president. But he's been doing a lot of writing. He has his own blog and stuff, and a lot of liberals are keeping an eye on Alan West and quoting him. And he was recently, we reported that Alan West actually called for the impeachment of Barack Hussein Obama. So he's the first really big voice to call for impeachment of Obama for treason. But he's writing here today, about 30 minutes ago, he says, President Obama has returned to the White House and tomorrow is scheduled to speak before the American Legion 96th National Convention in Charlotte, North Carolina. I want everybody to remember what Obama has done to our military. He has enacted policy decisions resulting in an army as small as it was in 1940, before conscription, the U.S. Marine Corps resembling post-World War I numbers, a Navy the size it was in 1917 before our entry into World War I, a Air Force flying the oldest and smallest fleet of planes in its history, and a nuclear arsenal no larger than it was during the Truman administration. And let us not forget, Obama embraced the family of a deserter while deserting Marine Sergeant Andrew Tomorowski. He's the sergeant that's captured in Mexico. He continues to tell our enemies what he is not willing to do, and the result of that weakness, a beheaded American. We reported on that. Oh, you know what? We got some more information on the guy. I can't think of his name right now. Foley. All right, let me finish this. He says, Obama has rejected the Reagan policy of peace through strength, and his administration has not been truthful about the VA scandal. I hope the American Legion will not fall for another Obama empty speech. Now, you bet a lot of guys know about Allen West. A lot of veterans really like Allen West, so wouldn't it be interesting? Okay, I'm going to make a prophecy. After all, I am the Trailer Park Prophet. I'm looking in my plastic crystal ball, and I see Barack Hussein Obama getting a very chilly reception from the American Legion. Maybe some boos, maybe some non-clapping. I hope nobody boos. I don't want to see that. But I would like it if nobody stood up, nobody clapped. Hey, did you hear this? This is big, I guess, in the rap world. Rap mogul Surge. Anyone know that name? Rap mogul Surge Knight shot 6 times after pre-WMA party turns violent. Here's a story from the Daily Caller, and I got this from my black friend Afro City Brown, and she said that rap mogul Surge had Biggie killed, B-I-G killed. I mean, isn't that just grand? A culture like that within a race of violence and misogynistic hate speech towards women. Unbelievable. Alright, we gotta do this story. I got a video of Al Sharpton. I mean, this guy, Al Sharpton, he has no moral compass. He has no dignity, no virtue, no pride. He can't be embarrassed. He's insufferable. And here's Al Sharpton on NBC News. I think this was yesterday. And Al Sharpton, Reverend Al Sharpton, suggests he's the Frederick Douglass of our time. Now, if you don't know about Frederick Douglass, he was actually a slave, and he worked with the abolitionists to create the 13th Amendment and change the Constitution to recognize blacks as equal. And now here is Reverend Sharpton comparing himself to Frederick Douglass of our time, and you know, that's such nonsense. I mean, Al Sharpton has made a living, a really good living, being a race baiter. He's not about bringing people together. He's all about pointing the finger and getting ugly and calling people a racist if you disagree with a black person. So here we have this. This is Al Sharpton on NBC News. I believe this was yesterday. Okay, Big Al. Welcome back to the Trailer Park Prophet. Let me see if
Your phone is smart. Your kids are smart.
Alright, we got a little
let's just say
little King Supers ad here. But Frederick Douglass, man, he wrote some very telling things. He writes one story about how his mom would walk through the night to go and see Frederick Douglass, who was on another plantation, and she'd get there like 3 in the morning, would lay down with her son for an hour or two and get up before the sun came up and walk all the way back to her plantation just to spend an hour or two with her son. Okay, here's Al Sharpton.
The magazine this week, it talks about how close your contact is with the White House, how you often serve as a kind of surrogate for the White House. But let me ask you about the president, and in the case of Ferguson in particular, race relations in America in general. Is he doing enough?
First of all, I'm not a surrogate. I have access to the White House, and we're going back to Lincoln with Frederick Douglass. Presidents talked to those that were leading at that time. Not comparing Mark Morial or Melanie Cameron out of Frederick Douglass, but that's nothing unusual. I went to Ferguson because the family, the grandfather called and asked me to come. The White House called while I was there, talked to me, the head of the NAACP and others. It's not a surrogate. It is a customary traditional role. I think the president, by addressing it twice while he was on vacation, not a statement but coming out loud, and yet not compromising the right of the family. Because where I was nervous, because I've been in this a while, I'm not a studio activist or someone in the ivory tower. I've been in this. For the president to go further, then it would be used in a legal context to say, oh, the president ordered the indictment, rather than letting a process go fairly, but the president governing and saying how we got to deal, as I'm reading this morning, he's saying we're going to deal with the military equipment and expenditures on citizens. We, in terms of those that are talking to the family and the lawyers involved in these cases, don't need the president to politicize it and give an escape from the criminal justice system from those that need to be investigated and possibly brought into the criminal justice system. So a lot of people talking are not talking to the victims who don't need their rights violated by politics.
We have just a few.
God, what did he say? I mean, I can't make heads or tails from what Al Sharpton is saying there. He doesn't make a lot of sense. He's talking about Michael Brown and his involvement with the issue in Ferguson. But again, I'm going to remind you that Al Sharpton, we reported, went to Michael Brown's parents and tried to get some money out of him, telling them that they needed him to get this going so that they can have a legal suit down the road. I mean, talking about hustling, that's exactly what they're doing, or what Al Sharpton did to the grieving parents of Michael Brown. And you know, I'm thinking about how Al Sharpton and the president have jumped the shark, meaning they're way ahead of the story in the investigation in Ferguson, and just exactly how unsophisticated it is, and I think it's rather contemptible, because in my mind, Al Sharpton and the president and Eric Holder just want to be able to have a narrative that they can use over the 2014 election cycle, that there's black kids getting shot by white cops on a regular basis all over America. And I don't think that's true. And if you'd like to disagree with the Trailer Park Prophet, you can do so by dialing 646-716-8506. And if I missed you last week, I'm mucho sorry. Let's see here. Oh, I think this might be really good. This is from Mad World News. I really like these guys. They got a story out today that says Muslims sympathizers are wrong. This is the real history of the Crusades. And you know, you think about how we live in a society here in the USA where the education elites are purposely not telling children our history, or the history of mankind and the history of Europe, the history of Christianity, the history of Islam. And let's see here. Hopefully, let's see if I have a video here. Here is the highlighted part. It says, misconceptions about the Crusades are all too common. The Crusades are generally portrayed as a series of holy wars against Islam, led by power, mad popes, and fought by religious fanatics. They are supposed to have been the epitome of self-righteousness and intolerance, a black stain on the history of the Catholic Church in particular and Western civilization in general. Exactly. A breed of proto-imperialists, the Crusaders introduced Western aggression to the peaceful Middle East and then deformed the enlightened Muslim culture, leaving it in ruins. And that's, if you were to poll people today that went to public schools, that's exactly what they would tell you. And it goes on to say, Christians in the 11th century were not paranoid fanatics. Muslims really were gunning for them. When Muhammad was waging war against Mecca in the 7th century, Christianity was the dominant religion of power and wealth. The Christian world, therefore, was a prime target for the earliest caliphates, and it would remain so for Muslim leaders for the next 1,000 years. With enormous energy, the warriors of Islam struck out against the Christians shortly after Muhammad's death. They were extremely successful. And let's see if we have a video here. God, I'd like to spend more time on this. I'll try to go through this on Tuesday and read this, and I'll give you a quick synopsis. But this is something that I'm going to ask you guys to read. It's from the Mad World. Again, the headlines, Muslim sympathizers were wrong. This is the real history of the Crusades. And I think this would be well worth your time. It's on my Facebook page, Daniel Gray, or Trailer Park Prophet. And it's got some good visuals. And here is a quote from the Trailer Park Prophet. The Democratic Party politics of today is more about who to hate than what to think or reason of which is better for our society, more or less government in our lives. And again, back to basics. You know, this isn't written so well, but my point is, again, about how this discussion of politics on the public square is simple. You either want more government or less government. There is a polarity of opposites. There is a right-left paradigm. Don't fall for that psychological warfare to suggest that there's no right and wrong, there's no up and down, there's no difference between the Democrat and the Republican Party. Anybody that talks like that is someone who wants to discourage you from actually voting and having a voice on the public square. Alright, let's see, where am I? I'm not where I'm supposed to be on my Facebook page. I gotta get back over to my... Okay, here we go, here I am. Hold on, everybody. Gutierrez. I totally agree with this. It's time we stop funding hate. We meaning the United States of America. It's time we stop funding lies. It's time we stop funding the United Nations. And I totally agree. I mean, imagine the number of radical Islamist countries who have a voice and a seat and a say at the United Nations. Everything from Saudi Arabia to Tunisia to Iran. I mean, really, people who are tyrants should not have a seat at the United Nations. And then, you know, they pass resolution after resolution, all these Arab countries who have a majority in the United Nations, against little o Israel. And for God's sakes, the Israelis lived in that area since before Christ. 3000 BC. Yeah, I mean, way back. I mean, the Jew is the original person, for crying out loud. Alright, what do I got here? If you are not concerned about Islam, you are a waste of oxygen, freedom, and our liberty too. Here we go. Frightening words of warning from the Chaldean archbishop who fled Mosul, Iraq, or no, Mosul, Iraq. Yeah, I was right. Jeez. Again, we got here, this is back to Alan West and his blog. Alright, this was posted yesterday, written by Alan West. We should probably read this, but I would kind of like to see if there's a video. Well, here is the highlighted part. And it says here again, this is Alan West. He says, our sufferings today are a prelude to what even European and Western Christians will incur in the near future. Your liberal and democratic principles here in the Middle East are not worth anything. You need to rethink our reality in the Middle East because you are receiving in your countries an increasing number of Muslims. You too are at risk. You have to take strong and courageous decisions at the cost of contradicting your principles. You think that men are all the same. It is not true. Islam does not say that all men are equal. Your values are not their values. If you do not understand in time, you will become victims of the enemy that you welcomed into your home. I mean, and this is a guy who knows. I mean, he's in Mosul, Iraq. Now let's see if I got another poll quote here. Oh yeah, here we go. Here's a little video. Now this guy, okay, what's his name? His name is Pastor Scott. And he was in Mosul, Iraq, and he just got ran out of there, and all the other Christians in Mosul got ran out of there by ISIS forces. Okay, here he is. Let's see what he has to say. All right, Reverend. No, he's a priest. All right, come on. We want to hear this. I know it's a little daunting being on the Trailer Park Prophet Show, but you're going to do just fine. All right, come on. All right, this might not have it happen. It might just like interrupt us. Well, darn it. I wanted to hear what this pastor... Here he is. Come on, pastor. Huh. Alright, well... Oh, wait, this might be an ad from ViewStar, and then we'll get into the video from Pastor Scott. Otherwise, we might be in trouble here. Alright, we're going to have to scrap this story. Alright, but here, I want to share this with you, though. This is in here. This is some of the verbiage or the takeaway from what Pastor Scott was saying. He said, frankly, it was the intent of the Romans to destroy Christianity by the most evil and demonic manner, beheading, sawing in half, burning at the stake, fed to lions. As a matter of fact, the writer of the book of Revelations, John, was the last surviving apostle of Jesus Christ. He had somehow survived his death sentence and was summarily exiled to the islands of Patmos. John's message was there was a greater reward awaiting Christians, and they should not lose hope in the time of persecution. But it's kind of interesting, you know, remember the Romans were, I mean, obviously there before the time of Christ. They were there 2,000, 3,000 years before the time of Christ, but it was the Romans that persecuted Christ. There was the Romans that killed Christ. And it was along the same lines that you hear today from ISIS and other people in progressive socialist America and how they hate the Christians, or they hate the Christians, but more particularly they hate the Jews. I mean, it's very seductive to be a Jew hater. I guess, I think what it is that in the human mind, it's easier to teach hate than it is love. And I think if you want to conquer a people, you have to have an enemy. And I just think the Jews are ready-made for that. Just like illegal immigrants in the U.S. are ready-made for the Democratic Party. And again, if conservatives were storming over the border of Mexico with Mexico, the Democrats would be down there themselves with their letter openers and private guards keeping people out of the USA. Now, this might be a stretch, but I really don't think it is. And this is something I have in my Facebook page, and it has a side-by-side black and white photo of Adolf Hitler and Hillary Clinton. And it has a quote from both. And from Hitler, it says, "Society's need come before the individual needs." That's socialism. Society's needs come before the individual needs. And that's always the rationale. The government knows better. You're just an individual. We have a collective mindset that's infinitely more intelligent than the common voter. And then Hillary Clinton says we must stop thinking of the individual and start thinking about what is best for the society, with the suggestion that there are certain people who are endowed by their creator, or just by their birth and their breeding and their culture and their what am I trying to say? The societal standing, their education, their pedigree. Those are the people that think they should lead, and why they don't like the strength of the individual. I mean, these people, these progressive socialist statists, are the most arrogant, smug, dismissive people on planet Earth. Oh wait, this is cool. In honor of the Rolling Stones, who I want to let everybody know out there, I considered Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones my life coach, and I am now more prouder of ever to have Mick Jagger as my life coach. Get a load of this. Mick Jagger and the Stones went to Israel to perform in Tel Aviv last night, and we're going to play a recording of the Stones in Tel Aviv, Israel last night. All right, everybody, welcome again to the Trailer Park Prophet Show, Mick Jagger. Yeah, Mick, man, thanks a lot, buddy, for being my life coach. right, that was getting painful. Saturday night at a venue in Tel Aviv, 50,000 people were there. That's a lot of people, 50,000. That's one hell of a turnout. Anyways, thank you very much, Mick Jagger, for supporting Israel. That means the world to me. Alright, let's see what else we got. You know, I was talking to my friend yesterday, 2 days ago at the music festival, and this guy, John, started in on me about fascism. And, God, he wouldn't shut up. And then I found this quote here from Plato talking about fascism, and he says, I said yo. Oh, no, I'm making fun of somebody here. Hang on. Definition of fascism: dictatorial movement, any movement, ideology, or attitude that favors dictatorial government, centralized control of private enterprise, repression of opposition, and extreme nationalism. Now, see, I see that in the Democratic Party. I see that in Barack Hussein Obama, except for the extreme nationalist, or an extreme nationalism. You don't hear that from Barack Obama. But really, you know, everything else here in this definition of fascism from Plato is Barack Obama. All of his executive orders, that's dictatorial movement. Any movement, ideology, or attitude that favors dictatorial government. And we just did that thing about Gutierrez. I mean, he wants President Obama to act on his own. That's fascism. Centralized control of private enterprise. I mean, that's what we got with Obamacare. Centralized control of a private enterprise. That's Obamacare. Repression of opposition. We've seen that by the IRS going out after conservative groups trying to get a IRS nonprofit 501c status. And we've seen that with the Obama administration going after the AP reporters. But we don't see extreme nationalism. But everything else, you know, as far as I'm concerned, Barack Hussein Obama on 5 of the 6 counts is guilty of being a fascist, or at least fascist-like. Or fascist-light. Let's see. I don't know what's going on here. We got a video underneath the piece I just did. And it says they didn't have to do that, man. Like that. Alright, we're not going to do this. I have no idea what that video is. I don't want to get embarrass myself any more than I have. You know, this is an interesting story. Huxley. No, wait, what do I got here? Oh, yeah, this guy. Okay, his name is Aldous Huxley. You spell his name Aldous. Huxley. Now listen to this thinking. I think I've heard of this guy before. And I got this from the liberal Democrats from Stardust, whatever that means. And anyways, the quote goes like this from Aldous Huxley: by means of ever more effective methods of mind manipulation, the democracies will change their nature. The quaint old forms, election, parliaments, supreme courts, and all the rest will remain. The underlying substance will be a new kind of totalitarianism. All the traditional names, all the hollowed slogans will remain exactly what they were in the good old days. Democracy and freedom will be the theme of every broadcast and editorial. Meanwhile, the ruling oligarchy and its highly trained elite soldiers, policemen, thought manufacturers, and mind manipulators will quietly run the show as they see fit. All right? You know, I'm not even going to weigh in. I mean, this guy, Aldous Huxley, is brilliant. I guess you could say, okay, he's conspiracy. But I mean, really? I mean, isn't saying there's a conspiracy to overthrow the Republic of the United States, isn't that even worthy of mention and debate? I think so. I think you can make a reasoned argument that the progressive socialist statists are all about destroying our Republican form of government here in the United States, our republic, our constitutional republic. And most of the media, like 80% of the media in the U.S. is controlled by liberals. 80%. And then you hear the liberal media bitch and moan about Fox. And little Fox only has like 10%, 16% of the viewing audience. But they receive 85% of the bitching, condemnation, hate from the liberal lamestream media. I got a picture here on my Facebook page of this young man of probably 65, and evidently it's the 100th anniversary of the submarines in Canada. At any rate, they're up at the War Museum in Ottawa to a full room of submariners. You know, and I mean, I gotta do this. And I want you to remember that Islam has been the perpetrator in the last 20 or 30 major terrorist events across the globe. Islam. And, you know, and I'm going to go through this list. The shoe bomber was a Muslim. The Beltway snipers were Muslims. Fort Hood shooter was a Muslim. Underwear bomber, USS Cole bombers, the Madrid train bombers, all were Muslims. The Bali nightclub bombers, the London subway bombers, the Moscow theater attackers were all Muslims. The Boston Marathon bombers were Muslim. Pan Am Flight 93. Those bombers were Muslims. Air France and Tibi hijackers were Muslim. Iranian embassy takeover were Muslims. Beirut U.S. embassy bombers were Muslim. Libyan U.S. embassy attack, they were Muslims. Buenos Aires suicide bombers were Muslim. Right there in South America. Israel Olympic team attackers were Muslim. Kenyan U.S. Embassy bombers, the Saudi Khobar Towers were Muslim. Beirut Marine Barracks were Muslims. The Besla Russian school attackers were Muslim. The first World Trade Center bombers in 1996 were Muslims under the Clinton administration. Bombay and Mumbai. Remember the Bombay and Mumbai, India attackers were Muslim. The Achille Lauro cruise ship attackers and hijackers were Muslim. And yes, on September 11, 2001, the airline hijackers were all Muslims. And not all Muslims are terrorists, but most terrorists are Muslims. You can't deny a obvious statistical analysis and accounting of who's committing atrocities in the U.S. Okay, moving on. Here we got Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He says, Hamas is ISIS. ISIS is Hamas. Exactly. So is Al-Qaeda. So is the Taliban. They act in the same way. They are branches of the same poisonous tree. They are two extremist Islamic terrorist movements that abduct and murder innocents, that execute their own people, that shrink at nothing, including the willful murder of children. Again, that's Prime Minister from Israel, Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And I'm sorry, Islam is evil. Alright, I got a little old school for you. Take a little break. We're right at the top of the hour. This is Daniel Gray. I'm the Trailer Park Prophet, broadcasting live on Blog Talk Radio from beautiful downtown Crestone, Colorado. And we're going to listen to an old school throwback. It's from the 90s group called Color Me Bald. I think you're going to enjoy this. Just relax.
It's a real treat. The return of Color Me Bald.
These guys are painful. I was listening to them yesterday doing show prep, and I was digging on them, and now I'm listening to them, and I'm kind of embarrassed for them. Let's see. Do I want to get into this story? Well, I want to get into this story enough to say that, you know, what do you call them, the Occupy Wall Street, those people, and they were always talking about the richest 1%ers. I want to remind you that 12% of the richest 1% are in academia. They work in education. 12% of the 1% work in education, meaning they work for government. And and most of the rest are progressive socialist status, meaning that the richest people in America, in the USA, are progressive socialist status. And that's because big government loves big business. And this article, which I'm commenting on, is from alternet.org, and they're saying their story is about how the ultra-rich 1% have sucked up even more of America's wealth than you think. And I'd be interested to know how many of the so-called 1% actually work in government outside of education. Or how many people who are part of the upper 5% work for non-profits. And I agree with this. It's not immigration, what's going on down at our southern border. It's not asylum seeking. It's an invasion. We're being invaded from Mexico. Mexico is exporting their crime, their criminals. Now, see, here we go, man. This just beats everything in my mind. And another story out of Breitbart. Obama lifts ban barring Libyans from U.S. flight schools and nuclear studies. Now, do we want Libya to be able to fly our brand new 777s or Boeing 777s? No. But now Obama's going to lift this ban, and it says here to the honor of many in Congress, to the horror of many in Congress, President Obama has reportedly lifted the 31-year ban preventing Libyan nationals from attending flight school and studying the nuclear sciences. I mean, this is absolutely insane. President Obama is trying to create another Iran. And let's remember Benghazi, Iraq. Iraq is in total disarray, last I heard. You know, it's interesting. We don't get a lot of news on what's going on in Egypt or Libya or Lebanon or Tunisia. I think that's by design. Hell, we don't even really know what's going on in Syria, except that new report that President Obama and his administration might be bombing ISIS in Syria. That's a big story, you guys. I'm telling you, my fellow lovers of liberty, that's big, 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 big. And then remember last week, don't forget, another 300 Marines are going to Iraq as advisors, you know, just like how President Kennedy got involved in Vietnam, sending squads and squads and squads of advisors, you know. Next thing you know, and advisors, believe me, military advisors, they wear boots. All these people in Iraq right now with the Marines and Special Forces, they're all wearing boots. So there is boots on the ground. Well, you know how I get. I love this. I'm on Barack Obama's webpage, and I'm his friend, and I'm a friend of what's his political activist group where they pay to have people go out into the community organizers. I can't think of it right now, but this is so funny. This is something from somewhere in Obama world. Has a beautiful picture of Barack Hussein Obama, and the headline is "Raise the Minimum Wage." BarackObama.com/raise the wage, and then you can sign up and all that. But and I said there should be a warning. Warning, warning, warning. Do not reproduce if you cannot afford to raise a family on $8.45 an hour. Trailer Park Profit. I mean, come on. Minimum wage jobs are for entry-level employees. You don't go and get a entry-level job and think you can raise a family on it. Give me a break, Barack Hussein Obama. You're insulting my intelligence. And the message that Barack Hussein Obama should be telling you is that, look, don't have children if you're only working for minimum wage. Be responsible of your own body. How's that for some tough love? How about that for a message from the president? You know, and again, I'm going to get into Ferguson here for a little bit. Ferguson, Missouri. If the president was really the president of the United States, he would have told those rioters down there, those import rioters, the renter mob rioters in Ferguson, to get the hell out of town and say, you know what, if you're black and you're rioting and looting, I as a black man are ashamed of you, and I want the whole black community to shun you. You're doing damage to race relations in this country. You're presenting the atypical black out there, out looting, out rioting. That would be a great and wonderful thing if President Barack Hussein Obama would stand on his hind legs and point his fingers at the rioters in Ferguson and say, stop it. You're a disgrace to the black race. That would be leadership. A lot of times it's not what you do, it's what you don't do. Got fired up there. Do I want to do this story? You guys know Steve Harvey. I really like him. He's a black guy, and I think he used to be a comedian, and he does a lot of game shows, but I mean, he has so many great moments. I think he took over the show Family Feud, and there's wonderful videos on YouTube of Steve Harvey listening to one of the answers, you know, to one of those questions on Family Feud, and just totally jerks the rug out from Steve Harvey. You know, he's beside himself, you know, because people say the darndest things. But this is him, Steve Harvey, and it's his birthday, all right? So I guess we'll pay tribute to his birthday, because I like this guy, I really do. And so anyway, he's having this show live, and it's his birthday, and this couple call in, and Steve Harvey hasn't heard from them in a long time. And this is really a beautiful exchange between Steve Harvey and this couple in Orlando, Florida. I think you're going to like this. I mean, I know I'm already going to get another tear.
This one is a surprise. Okay, I said no surprises. Sorry? That's what you're saying to me, Alex? Sorry? Okay, this is a surprise calling in via satellite from Orlando. Let's see who it is.
Hi, Steve. This is Rich List from Orlando, Florida, and I called you to wish you a happy birthday and ask you one question. Do you still love me, baby? I'm waiting for my answer, buddy.
Hey, man. I love you, man. I love you too, man. Yeah.
You want to say hi to your girlfriend?
Who, Becky there?
Yeah?
Hey, man,
Say hi.
Hey, Becky.
Hi, Steve.
Jesus. Wait a
love you, buddy. These people wish you the best happy birthday.
I was,
Oh, darn, I just realized I forgot the most important aspect of this Steve Harvey interview, and that is that the people he's talking to are white. These are white people, and they help Steve Harvey. And I just, I want to start a show called something like Good Moments of Black-White History, something like that, or Precious Moments of Black and White History. But, listen to this for a little bit. I don't know. I guess I'm a softy in a lot of ways.
26 years old, man. Struggling. I didn't have nothing. And these people owned the furniture store in Cleveland. And they took me in and gave me my first contract with my little carpet cleaning company. When I became a comedian at 27, I didn't have money to travel. They gave me an account at their travel agency. And man, I ran up a bill like $11,000 just trying to travel and make it. Them people right there. Man, they helped me out. Hey man, I got money now, Rich. Matter of fact, hey Rich, I'm gonna send a plane to pick up you and Becky. I'm gonna fly y'all to Chicago for the show. I've been looking for you for years, man.
Have a great birthday, Steve.
Have a great birthday.
Thank you. I want to say, hey man, look, you bailed me, man. I never forgot it. Thank you, man.
We love you.
We love you, Steve.
I love y'all too, man. All right, I didn't need it.
Bye-bye.
All right, man. I mean, isn't it good when we're all being people, we're all of the same race, the human race, and we can realize that the vast majority of people in the United States are not racist? And can't people understand that we're tired just because we disagree with progressive socialist status, that we're not racist? I think a lot of people are just exhausted on the political square in our institutions. Oh my God, this is so good. Now you guys are going to love me forever and ever and ever. And here I have before you 3 young ladies, 2 ladies playing electric violins, and 1 young lady playing the drums. And I'm telling you, this is top shelf. The drummer is Martha Cohen. She's on drums. Jennifer Lynn and Christine Wu are both on electric violin. String arrangement and video editing by Jennifer Lynn. Produced by, this is just so cute. And these young ladies, I'm guessing, are like 14, 15. And I just wanted to say, I love seeing women actually performing and being the front people. And this weekend at the Crestone Energy Fair, there was a young girl, like 15 maybe, playing a guitar, singing, and then there was a male percussionist who was accompanying her. And they have this new percussion thing. It's so cool. It's a box, a wooden box, probably some expensive plywood, and then it has different holes out of the box. And so as you play the box, it's a drum, but it has a hell of a lot more range than, a regular skin drum. But at any rate, he was playing that and accompanying this young lady at the Crestone Energy Fair. But this is something, I listened to this yesterday doing show prep, And I know you're going to thank me, and you can go to my Facebook page, Daniel Gray, Trailer Park Prophet, and pick it up. But this is just going to be, you're going to like this. 3 young ladies. I don't know if they have a name. Oh, they call themselves Toxic City. Live from, I don't know where these people are from. I just liked it. Anytime you can hear women in bands, and they're good, my gosh, that's so cool. And then again, these young ladies they're young. Oh, let's see here. I thought this is kind of funny. I got a picture here on my Facebook page of Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton being hugged by Eric Holder, our chief law enforcement officer. Attorney General Eric Holder. Again, you know, you have Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and Eric Holder in the same picture. And I wrote here, I said, oh dear God, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and Eric Holder, the race-baiting mulatto brothers, Trailer Park Prophet. But you know what? I mean, I'm looking at these guys, and they don't look all black. They look like they got a lot of white blood in them. And there ought to be some pedigree in determining whether or not somebody's black or not. Particularly if we do reparations. If there's ever reparations to pay back for the sins of slavery, a mulatto shouldn't get the same share as a full-on black person. And the only reason I bring this up is to point out the absurdity of racism. If we as humanity past, present, and future, are 99.9% alike. Any human being on the United States is 99.99% exactly like any other human on planet Earth. What it takes to be a human takes up far more DNA than what it takes in our DNA to make up a black person. I remember Carl Sagan saying one time that if somebody visited planet Earth, they would recognize the intelligent beings, the two-legged beings, as one and the same, because they have two legs, two arms, one head. You know, the similarities in the configuration of our body styles is identical. And if an alien was looking at us, humanity, all our colors and races and stuff, they wouldn't even recognize that as much of a variance from the mean, meaning that skin color is nothing. What's important is how they're constructed. Anyways, it's just a way to illustrate how crazy it is to be racist. And yet, you know, black people are racist against dark-colored black people. You know, and that kind of blows your mind there, when you think that light black people are prejudiced against dark black people. I mean, that'll short circuit your organic computer. Here's President Obama here. I don't know where he is. He looks like it's out in the west someplace, and he's standing in front of this array, or I don't know what you call it, but a bunch of solar panels, millions of solar panels as far as the eye can see. And the headline here is, it's a joke. Because I don't know if you know this, there are a lot of birds getting fried by these big solar farms, and there's even more birds getting killed by those turbines, the propellers. They're chewing up birds left and right, evidently. And so here's Obama. He's out in front of this solar farm, and whoever wrote this and posted this picture of the president poses a question to all of us. What do you call birds killed by a $1.6 billion taxpayer-backed solar plant? What would you call that? Well, the best response, as far as I'm concerned, is fried chicken. And it's funny, most of the people that responded to this post really didn't even respond in a funny way. Well, one guy, no, I better not, I can't repeat that. So anyway, I guess it's true that some of these big solar farms are actually killing birds, frying them. But the question is, what do you call birds killed by a $1.6 billion taxpayer-funded solar power plant? Oh, wait, let's just see if we have any callers. All right, if you want to call into the program here at the Trailer Park Prophet, you can do so by dialing 646-716-8506. Where's my refreshment? Hang on there. All right, I'm back. All right, let's see. We've got a half hour left. I don't know if I have enough stories to go the full 2 hours today. You know, I am a citizen journalist. Oh, in all fairness, here's an article from Bloomberg.
90 seconds.
Uh-oh, wait, we're almost out of here? Oh, you know what? I might have messed up on scheduling the program. All right, everybody, I got to get out of here. This is Daniel Gray. I am the Trailer Park Prophet. And I'm going to be back on Wednesday for Hump Day with the Prophet, and I'm going to be thinking about you guys a bunch. I really appreciate you being here. You have no idea what it means to me. All right, go out there, have any kind of day you want.